Hi, good. Hi. Nice to see you again.
Yeah, you too. I was so excited to see that you did the costumes for the studio because I was such a fan of Pam and Tommy, and I don't know, I'm always excited to see what you had people wear. So thank you for taking the
Ah,
time for me.
thank you. Thank you, Joey.
Sure. There's so much in here. I was rewatching a lot of the episodes this week. I love what you do with so much color in here. I love all of it. I feel like there's a with pretty much every character here. I feel like for a viewer there's a little bit of an aspirational quality that I feel like a lot of times when I talk to costume designers I can pick out, one or two people that I really lean that way towards, but like almost everyone, despite gender or anything, I was like, oh, I would love to see how these people get dressed in the morning. Um, I guess a silly question that I legitimately want to know the answer to, of all
Uh,
of the fictional projects that we see throughout this first season, I've seen the whole thing. Um, which project or film would you want to costume for the most?
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, because we kind of hit like all eras with
Yeah,
our
different
our
genres.
films. Of course, I loved the Silver Lake. I
Yeah,
loved doing that one.
yeah,
The
that
kind of
green dress. It's
the
great.
swinging 60s. Yeah. That was a lot of fun to do, and the location was beautiful.
Hmm.
I don't know. They're all very unique. I mean, who doesn't want to work on a Ron Howard movie, you know?
The gritty Alphabet City, of course.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Actually, I
Yeah.
thought to myself, when I was watching that episode again just yesterday, and I was just like, I could probably pick your brain the whole time about how you would want those costumes to, exist in that dark lighting. So I think that is
Yeah.
I think you got to hit a lot of really cool things there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it was fun. It was
Yeah.
fun for sure.
I guess I realized when I was doing some prep and I was just like, how do I want to, talk about all these really cool people, all these cool, crazy people. I guess if we could just talk about characters, if that's okay. Like
Hmm.
I was just sort
Hmm.
of like this
Yeah.
stupidly exhaustive like list that I have of costumes that
Right.
I wrote down. Um, I was reading I think an interview where you were talking about for Seth Rogen's character Matt. I love how much like the browns, the turmerics, the oranges. I
Hmm.
love that we see him in so much. I
Hmm.
love how I kept thinking about this is a man who obviously wants to be seen a specific kind of way. He wants to be respected and adored and loved by people that he works with and also artists. Um,
Hmm.
I saw something where you're talking about how the lapels keep getting bigger and bigger, which I thought
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
hilarious when I read that.
Yeah.
Um, I guess I wanted to know for a character who is, such a high power position, but carries a very open insecurity here.
Hmm.
What's a sort of hallmark for him? Because who knew that Seth Rogen would become such a person that I would turn to in the show, be like, I want to know what he's gonna wear.
Right.
Sorry, that was a
I
really
know.
long-winded way for me to
Yeah,
ask
I
that.
know.
Sorry.
And there's a lot of answers to that. And I would say Seth Rogen himself, as a comedian and as somebody that's always been kind of perceived as kind of this schlubby comedian, has really found a niche for himself by, I mean, not only with our show, but the way he dresses in real life now. He is a very classy person and he
Hmm.
takes a lot of note into style and how he looks now. And he always looks great and he's, taking chances. And but for this character is very specific. And when I spoke to him about this character, he wanted to make sure that especially everyone in the studio all lived in the same universe, in the same world, where their tones and their palettes all were in the same, you know, same palette. And that anybody that was from outside of this studio obviously looked like they're from outside. And if you were
Yeah.
somewhere, you could tell who worked at the studio and who didn't. And that each character was their very unique own almost like their own superhero. It's like if we did
Mm,
a superhero movie and they all had their own
hmm.
costumes
Okay.
and that you can identify them right away, but that these are all studio executives in their own
Uh,
superhero costumes that happen to really be in love with old Hollywood and the golden
yeah.
era of filmmaking and I think just through the architecture of the production design and the palette that we use, the textures, the silhouettes, we really tried to kind of bring in that old Hollywood in.
Mm,
And for him as the studio executive, yes, he looks great on the outside, but he's kind of a nervous wreck on the inside. But if you kind of take note into how he dresses, it is very precious.
yeah.
It's not utilitarian or sturdy. It's, there's a slightness to them. It's like the fabrics aren't, hardy. His shoes, he's in some soft loafers all the
Yeah.
time.
Hmm.
So there is this fragility inside of him that also is, apparent in his clothing, like nice silks and, pocket squares and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So I think it is pretty well rounded when you look at him. That he does look pulled together, but he's also just could fall apart at the seams at any time.
Yeah.
Even the shoulders of his jackets, they're soft shoulders. They weren't structured and
Yeah.
strong. They're very relaxed and soft. And but yeah,
Mm. Yeah, there's something about in terms of how he views himself. I'm sure maybe it's probably a total subconscious thing where he might view himself or how he dresses has a little bit more pliability than something is like super structured like that. Like I love when we got to see his feet. I was like, oh no, he's not wearing like, clunky or chunky, shoes. Like there is
no,
like there is sort of when you think about it, like I love all of his jackets. His jackets are fantastic. But there's I don't know, there's something where if you held the garment probably like it would have maybe like a softness to it that
yeah,
I thought was really cool.
yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah. A lot of summer weight wools and
Mm,
textures,
okay.
linen, a lot of linen.
Yes. I'm a sucker for good linen. Yes. Cannot wait for it to be
Yeah.
warmer so I can actually wear some more of it. Um,
Uh-huh.
the thing I loved about Catherine Hahn, I'm sure everyone's talking about Catherine Hahn, but the thing about
Yeah.
her is I loved that almost honestly, almost every episode when I was looking at the costumes, I was pausing it so I could like get closer to see like the texture of it, which I thought was really rad. I thought she was like a character who I never know what she's gonna put on her body. Which I thought is so exciting. I don't think I've seen a character really do that. And I saw you say something about how um something about like music videos and how like
Uh-huh.
people dress for the moment of something being very specific, but she just walks out the door with it and she wears it with
Yeah.
such confidence. Like there's like when she's wearing that like Burberry, it, I want to say
Bra
crop top.
top.
Is it a crop top? Is it crop top? Okay, yeah.
It's it's
And
a
then
bra top.
that is so like that informs me so much of how she goes out into the world and does stuff. And there's another one where she's
Uh-huh.
wearing like a longer, puffier coat with like
Uh-huh.
with a jersey underneath it. And I was just like,
Yeah.
I do not have the
Yeah.
balls to wear anything that she wears.
Yeah.
And I guess like how do you dress towards that confidence like that?
Yeah. Her character, I think that she's at that age where the type of pop culture that she would have absorbed through her life, is from like 80s, 90s, 2000s,
Hmm.
music videos in the
Yeah.
90s, films that came out, but because she's in marketing, she really, and also she's like a middle age, supposed to be a middle age. She's probably more in her 40s, but probably a divorced
Mm.
mother, and she's like, you know, redefining herself in a way that she
Yeah.
thinks is like connecting with the youth, or but she's so influenced by her whole life of absorbing pop culture, and then she's like the head of marketing, so she has to like present herself as someone who knows what's happening, and
Mhm.
and it
It's
just gets a
okay
little
for her to look a
distorted.
little weird. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it's a
yeah.
little distorted in her mind. I do kind of reference J Lo when she was a fly girl a lot,
Yes.
because I think that that would have been her age range,
Uh,
of like something that would have inspired her, but just a lot of all of the music videos, all the Britneys and Christinas and Beyonce and all the things that have
yeah.
come since then. Gwen Stefani, all of it, just as like she's absorbed so much of it that these people have stylists that style them for music videos and for reason, for celebrity, whatever they need to do as a celebrity. But here she is absorbing it in a way of like, well, I can do that, and then she's like piecing
Yeah.
these things together. And as far as the jewelry goes too, it's like for her character, it's like too much is not enough.
No,
And
no such
I
thing.
know, I know so many of those women that just wear all their gold and diamonds at once. And,
Hmm.
their Cartier bracelets like up to here,
It's like big, chunky. Yeah, love it.
yes, it's a thing. And there was a discussion about her jewelry, about how much she's wearing. And I'm like, but it's real. Like they just want to
Hmm.
show their worth and their wealth. And, especially divorced mom, who knows like how she's needing to fulfill that need or that
Yeah.
desire to.
Oh,
But
wow.
yeah, I mean, and it takes a good actor, actress to pull it off too. You can't just, not anyone can carry that the way
No.
that Catherine Hahn can do it.
Catherine Hahn has sort of like an otherworldly amount of swagger in everything. Like
Yes.
I kept thinking about like the amount of swagger that she has is in this is sort of the kind of same level of swagger that you have to have in like Agatha all along because she's,
Yeah.
but it's sort of
Yes.
like the swagger is up here, but they're so different, which I thought was really kind of rad to
Yeah.
see.
Yeah.
Um, I can totally see Maya, growing up and watching like TLC videos
Oh,
and
totally.
like
Yes.
Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and like maybe not
Yes.
going with the same colors, but also being a little bit, bold and outspoken with
Yes.
shapes and design, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I thought a lot about TLC when I every time she walked
And
on
a lot of
screen.
that stuff is really expensive too, by the
Yeah.
way. It
Oh my gosh.
wasn't just dimes for fines or whatever. It was
Yeah.
like, yeah, I mean that, yeah.
That's great.
A
So I
lot of
guess
logos and brands.
yeah, yeah, totally, totally. Um, I guess on the flip side of that, we have Quinn, who is
Uh-huh.
younger. I feel like maybe she is more, I don't say self-conscious about what she wears, but I mean, like, I like that she's in a lot of high-waisted pants. I love that she's in, I just wrote down old Hollywood vibe, question mark.
Yeah.
I love that sometimes, her stuff is buttoned up to here.
Yeah.
There's one moment where it looks like she's wearing, I think it's after they view the Ron Howard film where she's wearing like a button-up black shirt with a really pointed collar with a white vest and like I didn't see it the first time. I saw it in the next scene with like the teal tie. And
Yeah.
I mean, for episode 5, like the ties and that
Yeah.
like ombre pinkish purple. Oh my God, I'm obsessed with that. Um, I guess with a younger person who obviously has a lot of reverence for where she works and the history of it, but she has a long ways to go in terms of being in the industry. How does she kind of pay homage to stuff that she loves while also being very can't think of the right word, but I feel like you know what I mean, like contemporary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Contemporary. Yeah. And I think that that's just it. It's like paying homage to filmmaking and old Hollywood, but she's also like the understudy of Matt Remick. So it's
Yeah.
like a female version. Like she sees herself kind of as this female version. She's very determined to become a head of a studio. Like
Yeah.
she's very clear. And when we first meet her, she's his assistant, and she's like in a little knit top and neckerchief, which is very Sybil Shepherd from Taxi
Oh my
Driver.
God, I love that you said I love Sybil
Yeah.
Shepherd. Oh
Yes,
my
I was
God.
always referencing different characters in different films
Ugh.
with her, but but then when she becomes, the creative executive or whatever they call her, she starts wearing more suits and stuff. Like she's stepping into this role, and she is buttoned up. She never wants to feel um, sexualized in any way or anything like that. She doesn't want to seem like she's an assistant or a secretary, so she's never in skirts. She's just
Yeah.
it's almost like working girl feeling,
Mm,
I'm going to work and this is what I'm wearing. And I think there was a little bit of discussion that maybe she is a nepo baby in a way, like, maybe a little bit of money because a lot
right.
of the vintage stuff that she wears is all designer, like Chanel and YSL and Valentino. But yeah, and it's just, I kind of relate a lot to her character. There might be a little bit personal, I mean, she definitely is wearing a lot of stuff from my personal collection, like that ombre
Mm.
tie is something from my personal collection. And there's like this gold, it's it's a belt, but it's like a bracelet basically you just put around your
Yeah, it's like really
body and
thin.
snap.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that.
But yeah,
Mm.
this idea of, I used to wear ties a lot, and it's just like there's once again talking about like superhero costumes, it's like you put it on and it just gives you like this air of I mean business, like
Yeah.
I can be taken seriously, and she really wants to be taken
Huh.
seriously. She's got a lot of ideas, and she's trying to make a step forward. So when we see her in episode 9 and 10, and I'm not sure if you got to view
Hmm.
those,
Yeah.
there is this shift in her, and she states in the beginning of 9 that she finally is getting a film greenlit. And so there's something that shifts in her, like her hair
Hmm. Yeah.
changes. She's wearing a skirt. Like she's like now in this position where she's been working so hard and kind of fighting off the naysayers that she finally gets here. And so we kind of just planted that little Easter egg. So hopefully,
Yeah.
if we go to season 2, we can kind of dive into more of Quinn as an executive instead of just in a kind of creative assistant. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of references in there for, different motivations from film and all of that. I mean, episode 5, The Feud, it was
Yeah.
very important that she's always, every time she's going to work, she's just like, oh,
Yeah. I could totally
like
see that
in
with her.
fight mode.
Yeah.
Yeah, fight mode. And, she goes in with her like stuffy bows and her ties and her, like don't mess with me attitude,
Hmm.
and you're so obsessed with me. And it's just like even the shirt she wears in that scene, it has epaulets, and so it just felt very kind of, like
Ready for
militant
battle.
in that, yeah,
Yeah.
ready for battle. And we had
Huh.
a lot of fun with her character for sure. And Chase is just so open to all that. She loves to play with clothes, and she loves,
Yeah.
I mean, her aunt is Anna Sui, so she's,
Hmm.
kind of has, a good eye for fashion and
Yeah.
design and all of that.
Yeah. Like I kept thinking with her, she has such presence on screen, and you can tell that she likes playing. You can tell when a performer really uses the clothes to help exude another element of the character, and she totally does that, and she's
Yeah.
doing that now when she's so young. um
Yeah.
and there is something when I saw episodes 9 and 10 and her hair is short. I got so curious. I was like, wait, why is her hair short? And then I was looking at her clothes, and then I wondered if because I remember the line where she says she got a film greenlit, and I kept wondering, it's like maybe she's the type of character who, whenever she gets something that she accomplishes or wants, maybe she changes something physical about them.
Yeah.
I find that so
Yeah.
incredibly fascinating.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, for
yeah,
sure. For
um,
sure.
yeah, just going from the sort of like lilting ties where it's around her neck, but you still can't see any of her skin. I that was
Yeah.
really interesting, to the power ties in the shoulders,
Mhm.
and then to the final those final 2 episodes are bonkers. So bonkers. I love it. Um oh my gosh. I guess I mean, I just have to. This isn't really a question, but something that I really love in the Golden Globes episode. First of all, can't imagine where you start with something like that. That dress that Catherine O'Hara is wearing, I
Oh,
love.
yes.
Kind of anytime she was in a different kind of lighting, I thought I saw more detail of that dress.
Yeah.
She looks gorgeous in it. The pink that Zoe Kravitz is in, I
Hmm.
just saw this is a weird reference, but there was a drag queen on the finale of this season of RuPaul's Drag Race who wore a giant pink dress, and I could not stop thinking of the shade of pink and how similar they are. I'm not sure if they are that similar, but the lighting of that sort of blew my mind. Um, I guess maybe if I could ask about really briefly about the Golden Globes episode, something that is so big like that, like where do you kind of start with that?
Um, yeah, I know. Where do you start? I mean, we
Yeah.
started very early on, because we had so many of the background to pre-fit.
Hmm.
Because yeah, I mean, we want to recreate the Golden Globes to look like a modern, current Golden Globes and fill that room. So I think it really, well, it started with the background. It started with our main cast of who was going to be there. It's Matt, Seth's character, Catherine O'Hara's character, Zoe Kravitz is coming in. What is she going to wear? Is she bringing something? Are we dressing her? And then it's the slew of cameos. And it was like the pick and choose of like who was coming in, who was giving us their time, how much
Yeah.
time they were giving us, um, and do they own a tuxedo? It was always the question. And
Yeah.
there are a few people that own their own tuxedos that literally gave us 2 hours out of their day and came in and did their scene and then left. Um, and then there's some that we just prepped. We prepped stuff and we're fitting like the day before. I mean, or, the day of, basically. Um, Seth's suit, it was a Cucinelli. It was a
Mhm.
tuxedo from Cucinelli. So that was pretty straightforward. Um, Catherine O'Hara, she wore a Jenny Packham
Okay.
dress, who's a
Okay.
designer, and, she does a lot of things for,
Mhm.
um, uh, Kate Middleton, the
Okay.
princess,
You may have heard,
that
yes.
dress. You may have
Yeah.
heard of her. And then Zoe's dress is actually, I pulled that dress. It's a vintage Galliano for Dior. And
Oh,
yeah, I mean, it's just like, it's so beautiful and so epic. And that color on her and in that room was just, I think we're super hyper focused on putting her in pink for some reason, like baby
yeah.
pink. And then her take on it too was that, this character is so kind of bratty and,
Yeah.
and whatever, that she really liked this idea that she was wearing this like pink dress. Um, but yeah,
Oh,
and then
man.
yeah, there was like we had so many people come in on that. It really was a blur. I think we shot 3 days there, of just like, or 2 days. I can't even remember. Um, Rami Youssef played our host of
Yeah.
the Golden Globes, and he's so amazing. I mean, he's such a great guy to work with. But we tried to do different, because they also do like a wardrobe change when they're
Hmm.
hosting the show. So we're like, okay, maybe he's wearing this then, and then trying to incorporate all the lapel pins that people wear now. How can
Yeah.
we make it seem very current, without breaking the bank by
Mhm.
trying to. But yeah, we might
Yeah.
have broke the bank. We might have.
That episode almost feels like a magic trick on all levels. It was sort of just like when I finally watched that episode, and I was like, "How did they do this?" It was
Yeah,
just,
Seth said that day that he showed up that he walked like, because he comes out, he was getting dressed or whatever, and then he comes out and he's supposed to walk in, and that he had this like this very real visceral feeling of being at the Globes, because it just like everything, leading, the whole way in,
yeah,
we did exactly, I mean, we tried
yeah.
to make it very, very realistic, but yeah.
Yeah, somebody who loves the Golden Globes. It definitely felt like the Golden Globes. It really did. So that was great. Um, if I could just ask you one more really quick question, if you could, I'm obsessed with all of Matt's glasses. I'm a glasses
Uh,
nerd. I have
mhm.
like my husband tells me to stop buying them because I have them all hanging by my bed and I'm running out of room. I
Yeah.
guess I wanted to know what you would steal for your own closet from the designs of the show for yourself.
Oh, so many things. I mean, a lot of Quinn stuff if it was my size.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, like I really, really related with her character. Catherine O'Hara wore a lot of Max Mara, which I
Hmm.
just think is so elegant and sophisticated, and the colors that they use, it's just so beautiful.
Hmm.
Yeah, if I could wear all that, I would. Um, yeah, Maya's clothes, maybe at one point in my life, but not now. Uh, yeah, and of course, Seth suits and Matt suits. I
Yeah.
would wear all of them. All of them. I would
Yeah.
wear those. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Those jackets are great. He has I
yeah.
think
The
he wears,
tuxedo that he wore in the episode that just came out. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but
that's
the
okay.
orthopedic or the oncologist,
Oh, yeah.
pediatric
Hmm.
oncologist. Those tuxedos we custom made
Mm.
because we had so many stunts, and um, yeah, I was like, oh, well, maybe we should make more for all of us with that design. Once I saw it, I
Yeah.
was like, oh, it turned out really well. Yeah.
My husband is a doctor and I've been to events like that where
Uh-huh.
people it was I had like I'm not kidding like three or four people that are like is this episode triggering for you because I've heard oh you write for a website I'm like shut up I get
Yeah, yeah,
yeah it was very
yeah.
all of that was very spot on it was a little insane to me um thank you for letting me gush at you. I love the
Yeah,
work
thank you.
on this series. I think it's so there's such elegance in here. I love all of the tiny little details, like the pins. There's a lot of gold accents throughout this whole
Yes,
season, which I absolutely love. So
yes.
thank you for letting me pick your brain and gush at your
Yeah.
face unapologetically.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Joey. I
Yeah,
appreciate it.
yeah, of course. Well, good luck to you guys, and have a good
All
rest of your
right.
day.
All right. You too. All right.
Bye.
Bye.